Hello, I'm Greg Moulton, CEO of Brock Harcourts. We've decided to put a little DVD together and issue it to the people that we think would be a really good fit with our organisation. We've interviewed some of our business owners, but have been open and honest with why they've joined, what they find good about our organisation, what they think we can do better. We've spoken to the people that founded our organisation, Mr David Whitbread, Deloitte's, and also Gary Rustling, and of course the founding director of our organisation, Michael Brock. I hope you find it informative. We've really enjoyed going around and actually finding out what our people like about our organisation, but more importantly, I want you to get a feel of what we can actually do for you. We're committed through 2009, which could be a fairly challenging year, to absolutely do everything we possibly can. Business owners, for sales consultants, for receptionists, for property managers, everybody that forms a really important part and integral part of our organisation. The one thing, speaking to the 4 or 5 business owners on the way through that seem to come through, they really enjoy the culture of our organisation. It's probably that's the main difference between us and Ray White and Hookers that have all got marketing and training and everything else that a marketing group or a franchise has to offer. And the other one is a couple of our people have come from independent organisations and the reasons why that they joined us, what we offer up and above an independent boutique type situation. So, ladies and gentlemen, please sit back, enjoy. It's not that long. And if you've got any questions, you'll hear from the great man, Mr Michael Brock, at the end of this DVD. And after that will come up my contact details. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen and hopefully be able to speak to you in person soon.
Firstly, when I did set up, I had some reasonable discussions with yourself and with Michael Brock and Gary Rustling. I certainly did have the thoughts of opening up under my own name, but in saying that, the benefits that came with having an opportunity with Harcourts were just far too great.
I went to Queensland and looked at all the different models, the typical, the Remaxes, the Hookers and so on. And I saw Brock Harcourts 1. The franchise here was already, I could see it was growing very quickly, even though I didn't even think it had 10 offices at the time. Yep. And then also the Harcourts, the power behind that, was obviously something that was here to stay.
Did Brock Harcourts, as far as the state office and the franchise group, support you?
I guess probably just having the resources of being able to ask all the questions, and if you guys weren't able to answer them, somebody would be able to, you guys would find out, and that's probably the biggest thing that we found was the support. And probably the support of all the other business owners. We've got some pretty good neighbours with Morfett Vale and Blackwood, and now Brighton and Hallett Cove, so they were quite willing to share their ideas and any suggestions as well.
We chose Brock's mainly for the marketing. We found that, well, we wanted a group that were very proactive, who had a very good presence in our advertiser, and we felt that Brock's obviously put a lot of thought into the marketing side of things. We also really, I suppose, when we sat down and had an interview with both you and Brocky, we found that the culture was right for us. It was the right fit. And yeah, hence we made the move.
I hope you found some of the information provided before this insightful, enthusiastic, and we really do hope that you consider joining our organisation. If you don't so at this stage of the game, you will after speaking to Michael Brock or hearing from Michael Brock. Michael's the founding director of our organisation, been in the game a long time, 26 years with Brock Real Estate, founded it. It's gone through some highs and lows as the industry's moved along the bottom and up and down and all the rest, and what he hasn't seen isn't to be seen. Really interesting that Michael chose 5 years ago to take the most successful independent brand, highest profile top end, into the world of franchise. And it wouldn't be fair for you to make a decision without hearing from Michael himself. So Brocky, 5 years ago, things are travelling beautifully. Harcourts, vehicle that we didn't know a heck of a lot about, founded in New Zealand and then pretty strong in Queensland. How did you see the insight or have the insight to decide to go from a very large independent and have a look at the franchise world and model? And second barrel to that question, I know you did a hell of a lot of groundwork. Why did you end up with Harcourts?
Yeah, Malts, we had probably the biggest decision of the lot to make because, as you say, we were number one and we were proudly boutique. But I had a feeling probably for about 10 years before we made this decision that real estate would be dominated by the major franchise and marketing groups, and I thought there would probably wind up being three. And I thought White's, Hookers, and there was room for one other. And we came across Harcourt's. We'd been asked before about franchising. A number of people had asked whether they could open franchise offices, but I knew that we were not able to provide the disciplines required, you know, the training, the systems, the technology, conferences, speakers, that sort of thing that people would want. So we looked into the Harcourt's model very, very carefully indeed. We found that the culture fitted ours, which is basically work hard, play hard, be disciplined, but also being very successful. And so I went through New Zealand. They took us to places where it was all set up for us to look at people. So then we went and found people who they didn't set us up with, just to do a cross-check, and also through Queensland. And the thing that really impressed me is that all levels of Harcourt's, there just wasn't a weak link, from Mike and Paul right down through their middle management structure and so on. So, and talking to the franchise owners. It was a fun organisation, a successful organisation, and I was just blown away by it. And so it was a big decision, but the best decision that we've ever made as a company.
Fantastic, really courageous decision, which is one of our values. And just while we're talking about values, people first, which obviously Michael's business was prior and still is. Doing the right thing by people, which is extremely important in our organisation. And the last one's fun and laughter, which you do extraordinarily well and probably better than anybody. You've been involved since day one, obviously, 2004. You've been unbelievably helpful with recruitment. A lot of people have wanted to join because of you, because of the perception of the organisation being top end, and then combining that structure and the profile of the organisation and your skill base with, as you mentioned before, skills and whatever. Sitting on a board and being involved with recruitment from day one, what do you see as some of the strengths of our organisation as opposed to a couple of the others you mentioned in Ray White and Hookers and other franchise groups?
Yeah, just the way I look at it and the way it's evolved, I just think the Harcourt's have got the best systems. I'm blown away also at conferences, at just when we see what's progressing. They've got a dedicated group in terms of technology and all the other marketing avenues. So I think of the franchise and marketing groups, it's certainly the fastest growing, and I think the best culture of the lot. So that was a pretty easy decision from that point of view, and I'm sure that will continue because they really are aiming to be the #1 real estate company in the world.
Yeah.